Short version, tons of fun, doesn't quite feel like the instant classic the first one was. Kinda feel like they're saving the important stuff for Civil War, only one mid-credit scene, still totally worth seeing. You want anything deeper, keep watching. No matter how much one loved the original Avengers, it'd probably be hyperbole to describe it as the godfather of superhero movies, mostly because nothing is the godfather of anything except the Godfather. That having been said, I do feel like it's paradoxically fair to call Age of Ultron the Godfather 2 of Avengers movies, inasmuch as it's a sequel that is more complex, nuanced, and overall richer as an experience than its predecessor, and thus should logically feel like a substantially superior movie, but doesn't. The reason, of course, is that you can be the lesser of two films and still be more iconic, i.e. containing more signature scenes and memorable set-piece moments. And just as the overall superior Godfather 2 nonetheless feels the lack of take the cannoli, make him an offer, Marlon Brando, the overall superior Age of Ultron feels the lack of puny god, I'm always angry, and Tom Hiddleston. This isn't an insurmountable challenge, but with the Marvel Universe having set the sequel bar so high, with the shockingly excellent revisitations of Iron Man 3 and Captain America the Winter Soldier, it's hard for Age of Ultron not to feel like a respectable RBI that should have been a 3-run grand slam. Maybe that's okay. At this point, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has so many films and divergent series managed so expertly that just being good has to be an acceptable eventuality. Age of Ultron delivers as a good action-adventure movie in general, and a jolly reunion of the main bantering badasses in particular, serves up a nice helping of new characters and advances the overarching megastory of the cinematic universe in tantalizing ways. It's not game-changing, genre-redefining landmark like its predecessor, but then what is? In any case, our story picks up mainly in the wake of Winter Soldier and, surprisingly, the still-to-be-concluded second season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Avengers, now led by Captain America with Iron Man's money to spend, have been busy putting down the reborn Hydra and, as the film opens, manage to snatch Loki's mind control scepter back from mad scientist Baron von Strucker, but not before discovering that he's used the thing to turn a pair of war-orphan twins with a grudge against Tony Stark into superhumans Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. After subsequently discovering that the magic mind control gem powering the scepter basically works like a computer, Stark and Banner decide to use it as the basis for Ultron, an artificial intelligence protocol that can operate a team of peacekeeping robots designed to fend off threats too big for superheroes. And since apparently the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a universe where the Terminator movies never got made, they don't realize this is a bad idea until Ultron immediately reveals itself to be an unhinged mechanical psychopath who concludes that the only way to really bring about world peace is to eliminate the Avengers, and then for good measure all other human beings too. With the temporary exception of the twins, because Scarlet Witch's mind manipulation powers are good for making Earth's mightiest heroes lose confidence and turn against each other. Ultron's big fancy innovation as far as the killer robot genre goes is that he's Skynet with an emphasis on the net part, which means the Avengers spend effectively the entire film having to physically jet all over the planet trying to chase down the actions of a villain who can be everywhere at once, providing there's decent Wi-Fi. It also gives the film an excuse to move past the American centrism of the franchise by staging multiple action sequences in Eastern Europe, Oslo, and more, plus an extended stopover in South Africa for some hint dropping about Black Panther for good measure. By now it's apparent that Marvel frames the Avengers movies as the franchise equivalent of the All-Star game. It's the individual films where the characters go through life-altering personal journeys and where the big plot details get advanced, while the team-ups are all about reconnecting and trading banter amid a substantial but centralized threat, while the Marvel Universe's big looming cosmic payoff grows in the background. This time around, it almost feels like the film is dropping some sly commentary on itself in that regard, by making Ultron's creation literally the result of Tony Stark trying to get a jump start on the threat of sequel villains to come and failing spectacularly, while the show-offy new hero Vision owes his birth to yet another character popping back into the story from a truncated sojourn elsewhere, and essentially telling the Avengers, guys, my actions here may not make any sense, but I just looked up the plots to the next couple movies, and trust me, we're really gonna need a Christmas-colored android Superman who talks like Spock. But again, the Avengers movies are basically banter-heavy character pieces where everyone who matters just happens to be a superhero, and it delivers where it counts. These are all great characters whose actors are by now snug and comfortable in their roles, and watching them play off each other seldom gets old. The action sequences, though perhaps a little too numerous and protracted, are great fun, and whichever character is your favorite, you're sure to be satisfied with their showing, especially a big new role for Hawkeye. It also has the good sense to know after 11 Marvel movies and over a decade of superhero blockbusters in general, there's no real need to spend too much time tediously explaining how bizarre powers of people like Scarlet Witch and Vision work beyond they just do, okay? And moving on. Ironically, if Age of Ultron has a significant weak point, apart from some very obvious editing for time that sends Thor off on a subplot that was clearly meant to set up his next solo outing but now just feels random and out of place, it's Ultron himself. Oh sure, he's a fun bad guy and James Spader has a lot of fun vacillating between his thin-skinned anger and laconic self-absorption, but he occasionally feels like the right bad guy with the wrong plan. One understands that these are action movies first and they need to deliver big-scale thrills, but given that Ultron has very clearly been conceived as a nasty, cutting, more personal interlude of a bad guy giving the Avengers a hard time en route to the bigger cosmic throwdown waiting in the wings, it feels like a strange choice that his ultimate plan still involves an army of punchable henchmen and a doomsday machine just like the last guy the Avengers fought. Don't get me wrong, the final battle itself is a hell of a thing, an extended disaster sequence built around the heroes trying to evacuate civilians stuck in the crossfire of Ultron's master plan that feels like a deliberate take that to the much commented lack of such considerations in rival features like Man of Steel. But while it's satisfying and I'm always on board for some Man of Steel slap around, it does sort of feel like an opportunity is being missed to see how the Avengers handle a smaller but more direct challenge. As with the rest of the film, I enjoyed it, but I do find myself looking forward to the promise of more substantive conflict in Captain America Civil War. Age of Ultron is a terrifically fun diversion, but it feels like the Avengers are in need of a change of pace by now. That appears to be what's in the cards, but I'm left hoping it's about more than a lineup change. See you around!